Hello and welcome to The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. On today's episode, we're making a painting. I call this one Autumn Song. We're using Photoshop, Luminar. We're using Topaz plugins. So without any further ado, let's get started. First thing I want to do is duplicate this background layer, Command or Control J on a PC. And let's go up to Filter and come to Skylum Software, Luminar 4. I'm going to use the Accent AI just to, tweak this image up a little bit here. And we'll go to, I said Accent AI. I actually meant AI Enhanced. There's so many names to all these different plugins. It drives me crazy. Anyway, so we'll take the Accent AI. Let's bump it up a little bit. Maybe something like that. And another thing I think I might do is come to this creative section here and come to mystical and just bump the mystical up a little bit just to give this image a little softness. And let's see here. Let's go back to the essentials and go to light and maybe give it a little bit more exposure. Watching my histogram so I don't overexpose the image, but I just want to lighten it up ever so slightly. Somewhere right around in there I think looks good. Let's go ahead and click apply, and that'll bring us back into Photoshop. Let's go ahead and duplicate the layer. That would be Command or Control J to duplicate the layer. Let's come up to Filter and come down to Topaz Studio 2. We're going to add the painterly effects to this right now. The first thing we're going to do is add a filter called Abstraction, just to simplify this image a little bit here. So we're going to pull up the Simplify here. We don't want to go too crazy with it, but we want some simplifying here. And I'm going to pull up the detail strength a little bit. Maybe just a slight amount for all these little branches in here. And then we're going to go to Add Filter. We're going to come down to Impression. And we're not going to do too much here in Impression. First thing I want to do is come down to Texture. I always like to start out here and come to the background type and click Original. I want to add a little bit of canvas to this. I'm going to use Canvas 1. Little canvas texture, and I'm not going to go too much here. Let me zoom in so you can see. So you can add a whole lot of canvas texture here, but I just want a little bit in here. I just think it really makes it look a little interesting. Maybe somewhere right around in there looks pretty good. And let's go up here and let's play with our brush size a little bit. Depending, how abstract we want this to be. And I am thinking maybe right around here. I'm not going to do too much in here. I'm not going to even worry about any of these other adjustments because you know what? This is a vision I see for this image. I like it. It's kind of simplified. I'm going to bring back some detail in Photoshop on these branches and things. And I just may pull this back a little bit more. That's probably because it defaults at 50 and I think that looks really good. And I'm pretty happy with that brush. So, I could come here and play around with the different brushes if I wanted to. And actually, that brush looks not so bad. Let's click on this brush. Let me go back to the original brush. I think I'm happy with the original brush, so I'm just going to go ahead and accept that. So we're just going to come up and click Accept, and that'll bring us right back into Photoshop. Now, once we're in Photoshop, I just want to add a layer mask to this. So just come down to this little mask icon and give that a click. All right, now we're going to get a brush. Make sure you have your brush tool selected. You can just type B to get the brush tool. And we want to make sure we're painting on the layer mask. Now, whenever you click on the layer mask, you're going to get white and black paint swatches. We want to be painting with black. If you didn't have black, you can type the X key and swap that out. Okay? And I have my opacity at 100% and I have my flow at 10%. I am using a Wacom tablet. So I'm just going to resize my brush a little bit. And the way I do that is I hold the Control and Option keys down and drag to the right and drag to the left to change the size of the brush. Or you could drag up and down to change the softness of the brush. But right now, as you can see, my hardness actually is at 1%. So it's a very soft brush. So I'm just going to resize that brush to right around there. And what I'm going to do is every time I make strokes here, with the flow at 10%, it'll keep building up. So I can be careful and build this up slowly. And I'm just trying to bring up some detail on these trees here, just to bring some attention to them. I'll make my brush a little smaller and get this tree over in here. I'll go out and paint some specific branches in as well. Whatever I think would help the image. All right. And if you overpaint, just type X like I overpainted here a little bit and just fix that right back up. It's real easy to do. Typing X again. Now I'm back. I'm painting in this tree right here. These are birch trees, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are. But this is the way I like to work with Topaz Studios impression and abstraction filters. I don't like just to accept what they give me. I like to alter them, make this image my own. I won't give it as much paint back here, so it stays relatively more quiet. I think it's a good term, quiet for the image itself. Okay, I'm just going to come down and paint over this guy a little bit here. This is a lot of fun. Quite enjoyable, relaxing. I normally like to have some nice music on when I'm doing this. It's kind of nice. Just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's so much fun to create. That's why I call my channel The Joy of Editing. I love to edit images. To me, this is part of the creation. I love to take the photograph, but then I really love to get in here and just tweak it and make it my own. And that is a lot of fun. And I hope you agree. And I hope you're having a lot of fun out here making your images. So let's, if you shift click this layer right here, you can see the before and after. But you see what that's doing? It's bringing some attention. Now let me make my brush a little bit smaller here. And let me just paint up on some of these branches here that I just want to come out a little bit. And maybe this branch over here. We're going to add a cardinal to this. I showed this image to my wife this morning, and I said, honey, what do you think? She says, I'll tell you what I think, honey. Boy, when she tells you that, you better listen. Okay? But she said, I'll tell you what I think. I think it needs a little bird, a little cardinal right up over here. I think that would look really pretty. So I said, you know what? I think that's a great idea. So I'm going to add a little cardinal. So thank you, honey, for telling me about that. So just paint a couple more of these branches and just take your time, I made this image this morning and I posted it online in the Skylum Facebook group and also in the Topaz Facebook group. So I'll try to remember to link it so you could go see it. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Maybe this one branch here. Let me make my brush really small. Come across here. Maybe hit a couple of these because these are the little things that'll draw people's eye in. I just hate to take plugins and take them just out, I call that canned, like the canned plugin look. I don't want that. I want to make the plugin mine, and that's why I do these images this way. Because the plugin can't do this for me. It can't think like I can think. I mean, computers are smart, but I think we have a little edge on the computer. And maybe I'll just hit these branches over here. I like the whole entanglement of these branches in this scene here. I don't know, I think that's pretty good. I mean, for now, it is a tutorial. You could spend hours and hours. Whoops. Command Z, I painted wrong there. Command or Control Z. And look, I messed up there a little bit, so I'll just type the X key and just simply erase that little bit right there. So let's shift click this mask. Here's the before and here's the after. And then you can come and see, did you miss some areas? Whoops, I'm painting with the wrong paint. And you can just go ahead and fix it up a little bit. And I think that's looking pretty good. So we started out with this picture right here. And we're to here now. I think it's looking really beautiful. The next thing we're going to do is add a cardinal to this area right up in here. And I'll show you how we cut one out. I got a stock image for that, and we'll do that next. So I have this stock image here. Let's go ahead and duplicate the background, Command or Control J. And we're I'm using Photoshop 2020, and they have some really cool selection tools in here now. I'm going to use this tool right here called the Object Selection Tool, and this is cool. I'm just going to draw a loose outline around this cardinal here, and check this out. It selects it. Isn't that cool? That's really neat. And so what I'm going to do next is what am I going to do? I'm going to say remove the background, just like that. Okay, and it removes the background, and let's put a solid color underneath it here so we can see it. So there's the bird. I mean, we can change this color to any color we want. Who doesn't like a purple sky? This doesn't really matter. I just want you to see the cutout. And the cutout looks pretty good. Now, if we wanted to refine this a little bit, we can click on the layer mask right here and come to select and mask. And we can, this particular tool right here, we can make it a little bit smaller and just paint around here. And this is going to have a painting effect on it, so it doesn't have to be real accurate. I'm going to get rid of this right here. Let's accept that for right now. I think that looks pretty good. It's really good enough for what we're doing. And let's just click OK. And now I'm going to right click this and come to Apply Layer Mask. Okay. And I could have done this when I had the selection up, but I'm just going to get an eraser tool. Man, there's so many different ways you can work in Photoshop. Let me get a little bigger brush here, and I'm going to make sure that brush is soft. Okay, pretty soft anyway. I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff here. I don't need any of this stuff. I don't need this. Again, this is going to be a painted cardinal, so we don't have to worry too much about him. And he's going to be small in the picture too, so no big deal. Let's just erase this stuff off of here. Go away, I don't want you. I don't want you in my picture. I can leave a little bit of this branch on here. We can work on that once we get it over into our image. And so what we'll do next is this layer 1 is selected, so I'm going to get my move tool. It's V for the move tool. Just click and drag it up to the layer that we're working on, which is this one right here. Release it, and it's going to say the target object, the target document has a different depth than the source document. This may result in lower than unexpected quality. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yeah, sure I do. Okay, there's our cardinal. And we got to tweak him up a little bit, get him looking right. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to make him smaller. But for now, what I want to do is get a curves adjustment layer and put it above him. All right, and I'm going to clip this layer to the cardinal. I'm going to hold my Option key down and hover between these two layers. See that little clipping icon pop up there? Give that a click. So now when I adjust this, it's only going to affect the cardinal. So I'm going to darken him up a little bit here. And maybe play with his colors a little bit. Let's go to blue. Let's just see if we can alter his color a little bit. Add a little bit of yellow by dragging down. Let's come to red. Don't want to pull my reds down a little bit. The reds are a little bit strong, so let's pull the reds down a little bit. Maybe somewhere in there. Let's also take a look at our green. If you pull up, you're going to add green. If you pull down, you're going to add magenta. So I think the green's good, and you can just drag this off and it goes away. So that looks okay for now. I have to do some more with the color here, so I'm going to get a hue saturation layer. And right here, I'm also going to clip it, so hold the Option key down and hover over there. And let's just take down the saturation a little bit, and let's just look at our hue, see if we want to play with the hue a little bit. I think I do want to. That looks like it's, warming it a little bit that way. I think somewhere right around there looks pretty good. I think that's fine, actually. All right. The next thing I want to do is Command or Control T. Oh, could not transform. The initial bounding rectangle is empty. Say OK. And the reason being I'm on the hue saturation layer. OK. Just click on the cardinal itself. Now I'll do Command T. I'm leaving my mistakes in so you can so you can see what I'm doing wrong. And hopefully you won't make that same mistake. But I like to leave the mistakes in because I make them all the time. And I'm just going to move him up to the area where I think I want him. This piece of a branch here, I might draw some more branch in here, but I'm going to say right about in here looks pretty. No, right here. Let's say the branch comes off of here. Okay, so maybe right about there. And then you have to just decide, is he too big or too small? I think he looks a little too big. So if you hold the Shift and Option key together, he'll stay in place, and I'll just make him a little... Well, actually, you know what? I don't want to do that because it's losing its aspect ratio there. So I'm going to release that. I'm just going to pull down there a little bit like so. He'll maintain his aspect ratio if you're not holding anything. And I think that's a decent size, maybe a little bit bigger, and put him like he's sitting right on that branch right there, and then just type your return key and that commits him right there. And you can still come and resize him if you need to, but I think that size is looking pretty good. Let's just do a little bit more color work on him. Let's come down to the adjustment layers, and let's get a color balance adjustment layer. And it's right. It went right above layer 2, and it did automatically clip it. Okay, so we don't have to clip it. If it isn't, just hold the Option key down, hover between, and the clipping layer will come into play. All right, so let's go to our shadow tones, and let's just play with these colors. Let's start with yellow, and do I want to make them a little more yellow? Maybe just a little bit. Let's play with our magenta and green. And it's only affecting, you can see it's only affecting the bird. Just trying to balance it into the image here with color balance. That's looking pretty good, I think. Let's go to our midtones and play with those a little bit. And I'm just looking at the bird. I'm not really looking at the control itself. I'm just dragging as I'm staring at the bird. And I stop when my eye likes it. See how I can make that darker on his belly there. I think that looks pretty good. Let's click this eyeball of color balance on and off. Before and after. And if I think I've went too far, I can take the opacity, pull that the whole way off, and just build it up a little bit. Maybe somewhere right around in there I think looks pretty good, before and after. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now let's come up to the hue saturation layer. We're almost done here. I'm going to pull this all together. That's Shift Option Command E, or Shift Option Control E on a PC, Shift Option Command E on a Mac. And let's come back up to Filter. Let's go to Topaz Studio 2. I just want to do one last thing. I'm going to bring this bird into the painting here. He already looks kind of painterly at that small size, but what I want to do is come to Add Filter, come to the Impression Filter, and what I'm going to do is do my standard, come down to Texture, and go to Original. And what I want to do is, I just want to make my brush size very small, and just add ever so slight amount of painterly on here. Let's click the eyeball here. Here's the before and there's the after. And come back and click on impression here. And I just want to take my opacity and pull it back. And what I think I'll do is just, I'll pull this up, make that bird look a little painterly, like say right around in there. And maybe somewhere right around there. And let's just go ahead and click accept. And what I'm going to do is just mask that bird in. So I'm going to get a black mask. Hold the Option key down, click on the layer mask. That's a hide all mask. Let's just zoom into the bird. Okay, we're just going to zoom into the bird here, and I'm going to get my paintbrush, B for the brush, have a small brush here, and my flow is still at 10%, and I think that's going to work. And what I'm going to do is make sure I'm painting with white paint, because right now I'm on black, so type the X key. And now I'm just going to paint over my bird here. And just put a little painterly on him. I am painting with white paint. Right in here. And I think I just need to do a little bit of repair here on this branch right here. So what I'm going to do is get a blank layer right here, put it above here, and make my brush a little bit smaller. And I'm going to get my, do I want to paint? No, I'm going to get a stamp tool. Type S for the stamp tool. I'm going to option click right here. And I'm just going to paint that color over this branch right in here. I can get some of this color right in here too. Nope, I don't like that. Let's get this darker color right here. Right in here. This doesn't have to be perfect. I might sample some of this and paint it up like it's all part of that. Click a little here. And right there. And maybe I'll just put a little piece of branch out past the bird here a little bit. I'm just sampling these colors and just painting. Whoops, Command Z, I don't like that one. Let me sample over here. There. I think that looks pretty good. And maybe get a little bit of this darker color. Just paint that out in there a little bit. Whoops, I don't like that. Let me get this color right here. Right here. And maybe sample right around here. I'm just trying to paint in a piece of a branch right there. And I think that looks pretty good. So let me zoom back out. And there's our little bird on his branch. Let's go ahead and put this all in a group here, this painterly effect. So starting, finished off at layer 4, let's come down to layer 1. Let's shift click this here. Right click, and we want to go to group from layers. And let's just call this painting. P-I-N-T-I-N-G. I think I spelled it right. Okay. And now if we click this, we can see the before and there's the after. So there's our little painting. The only thing left to do is sign this one. So I made myself a brush, and sometime I'll show you how to make your own brush in Photoshop. Your own signature brush, I should say. So let's come up here to make sure we're on brush, type B for the brush tool, and come to the brushes here. And I'm going to go the whole way through my brush list down to the very bottom, signature watermark, and let me make sure I'm on a blank layer here. And I'm going to make my brush smaller. I'm going to sample this color of one of these trees. I'm going to option click here, get that color right there, and give that one tap. Whoops, you know what? Command Z. And let me make sure my flow is not at 10%. Again, I'm going to leave these mistakes in, so type Shift 0 to get that to go to 100% and give that a click. Because these things happen all the time. You know, you've changed brush opacities and flows and things like that, and after you do it, you don't generally set it back. So if you find something that isn't working, you got to figure out what is wrong. In that case, I can see I have my flow wrong because I'm like, where is my signature? But there's my signature there. Well, there's our painting for today. I call this one, as I said earlier, Autumn Song. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give it a like and share it with friends. And also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon. This way, every time I put out a new video, you'll know about it. Well, thanks again for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I'll see each and every one of you right here next time. But until then, happy editing.